This presentation was created to talk about potential MHS band spring break trips for 2023. Last spring, I was looking at trips with hopes of no COVID during the 21-22 school year. Obviously, that did not turn out well. This spring, I am looking at things in a different perspective. How can we plan a trip within our current reality and be successful, COVID or no COVID? I do not know all of the answers yet, as things are constantly changing, but I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions as possible and give you some good information in this presentation. I'm going to present 4 things in this presentation. Number 1, itineraries and prices for 2 trips. Number 2, information regarding safety of the destinations. Number 3, I'm going to address the what happens if scenarios in regards to COVID. And number 4, parents will have an opportunity to provide feedback through an online questionnaire, which I will discuss. We are considering 2 different trip options this year. The first is a 5-night trip to Disney. The other is a 7-night cruise out of Miami with 1 night in the hotel for a total of 8 nights. I'm going to start by providing information about the Disney World trip. I believe people are more familiar with the Disney World trip, and therefore I'm not going to get into as many details in comparison to the cruise. First, I'll discuss the itinerary. Day 1 would be a flight to Orlando and Animal Kingdom. Day 2 would be an opportunity to explore Magic Kingdom. Day 3 would be Epcot Center and perhaps a clinic. Day 4 would consist of a day trip to Cocoa Beach and Kennedy Space Center. And Day 5 would consist of Hollywood Studios and a performance. Day 6 would be the flight back to Minneapolis. There are some great performance opportunities on this trip. There would be a clinic at Epcot Center in which the band would record music and they would put it to video. We would also have the opportunity for performances on the Disney property, and our performance venue would be based on our audition tape that we would have to submit. I'll now address the what-if scenarios in regards to COVID. What if a student tests positive right before the trip? In regards to the flight, the refund status would be based on the airline's policy at the time of booking. Many airlines offer vouchers if the flight is canceled. The hotel expense would likely be non-refundable, and the entrance fees and other expenses also would likely be non-refundable. That said, I will talk about travel insurance later on, which would be a way for you to potentially get refunds if one of these events were to take place. What if a student tests positive during the trip? The student would be put in an isolated room at the family's expense. The parent or guardian would then need to come to Florida to look after the student until the quarantine is over, then arrange transportation home. In regards to entrance fees and other expenses, those would most likely be non-refundable. So let's look at the general information about the Disney World trip. It would be 4 days at Disney World with a day trip to Cocoa Beach and Kennedy Space Center. We would consider both bus or air transportation, hopefully air transportation. The cost would be $1,500 to $1,600 per person, and many lunches would not be included. The price would come down though, I expect, as the boosters typically contribute to our trips, and I do have some money set aside in our Menominee High School Band fundraising account that can be used for this trip. Positive items to consider about this trip. There are some great possible performance opportunities on this trip. I also think Disney is a lot of fun for high school students. Lastly, this is a relatively easy trip for you and for me to plan ahead of time. Negative items and concerns regarding this trip. There is a bit of financial risk. It is a lot higher in comparison to the cruise trip. Minimal refunds would be offered, if any, if you need to cancel the trip. Also, many meals are not included in the price, which can be a significant expense at Disney, where meals can range from $10 to $30 each. Now I'm going to talk about our second trip option, which is a 7-night cruise on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas cruise ship out of Miami. First, I'm going to talk about the ship, because the Royal Caribbean ship does make a huge difference in the cruise experience. The first time the band went on a cruise in 2018, they went on the Sovereign class ship, the Majesty of the Seas. This year, The Oasis of the Seas is one of the biggest ships that Royal Caribbean has. And because of that, there are a lot of really, really good onboard experiences on the ship. And now to highlight the onboard activities on the ship. The ship has 3 water slides, 4 pools, and 10 hot tubs. The Ultimate Abyss, which is a 10-story high slide that goes from the top deck all the way down to the boardwalk area. This is the tallest slide at sea. A laser tag center, an escape room, mini golf, 2 climbing walls. Each climbing wall is on a different side of the Ultimate Abyss. 2 flow riders, which are the surf simulators, an ice skating rink, sports court, a zip line. There are some teen areas that are very nice on the ship, and a fitness center and running track. Now I'm going to highlight the shows and musical entertainment on the ship. Because it is an Oasis class ship, or one of Royal Caribbean's biggest ships, the onboard experience and the shows are at a top-notch level in comparison to some of the other ships. For instance, they have Broadway musicals on every Oasis class ship. The ship has an aqua theater in which they have water shows, including high diving. There's a Broadway musical as well. I believe the Broadway musical on the Oasis of the Seas is Cats. I'm going to show you a clip, though, from a Broadway musical from one of the other cruises that I recently went on. They have amazing ice skating shows in the ice rink. There are brass quintets and jazz quartets aboard. Here's a short clip from one of the jazz quartets on board. They have Vegas-like and other type variety shows, including comedy shows, ventriloquists, and whatnot. I'm going to show you 2 clips from 2 of the shows that I saw on one of my recent cruises. They have Caribbean bands. You're going to notice the Caribbean bands are frequently around the pool. But I'm going to show you a clip from an evening performance by the Caribbean band. They have piano performances throughout the day in which there's a piano player and vocalist. Caroline, good times never seem so good. So good, so good, so good. Each ship has a guitar player who also sings at night. Rock bands play at various venues throughout the ship. Latin bands, and jazz bands and combos. Here's a short clip of a jazz band performance on the ship. The ship is divided into 7 distinct neighborhoods, and I'm going to highlight a few of those neighborhoods. I've already highlighted some of them, including the pool deck and whatnot, so I'm going to skip those ones. There is a Central Park neighborhood. This is basically a park in the middle of the cruise ship. You will often see string quartet performances or jazz combo performances or brass quintet performances in this area. It's also a very nice area to hang out. There is a boardwalk area. You'll see a carousel there, and this is also where the Ultimate Abyss is. And if you look out the back of the ship, you'll see the Aqua Theater from here. There are also places to watch sports in this area, including March Madness. In the center of the ship is the Royal Promenade, and this is basically the heartbeat of the ship. There are various performance venues here, the pizza place, coffee shops, and whatnot. Now let's highlight the itinerary. This is a 7-night cruise out of Miami. On Saturday, March 11th, we would fly to either Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Then we would spend 1 night in the hotel there. On Sunday, March 12th, we would embark on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas cruise ship. On Monday, March 13th, we would arrive in Coco Cay. Coco Cay is Royal Caribbean's private island, and it is owned and operated by Royal Caribbean. On Coco Cay, there are beaches to hang out on, free pools. There's also a water park. There is an extra expense for the water park, but there are a lot of great things for students to do on Coco Cay, including snorkeling and kayaking. There's actually a downed airplane that students can snorkel at on Coco Cay. Tuesday, March 14th would be a day at sea. This is a great time for students to participate in many of the onboard activities on the ship, as well as go to shows. Wednesday, March 15th, we would arrive in Cozumel. Cozumel is an island that is off of the coast of the northeastern part of the Yucatan Peninsula. Cozumel is a great place to do some kind of a water activity. It is a more affordable place to do something with dolphins or rays. It is a great place to snorkel as well. In Cozumel, students would be able to, under the supervision of chaperones, do a little bit of exploration at the port and go shopping. Now, because of Cozumel's proximity to the mainland, there are a lot of really great excursion opportunities that are open to students on the mainland. There are many ruins on the mainland that students could visit, including Coba. Chichen Itza is an option, though it makes for a very long excursion day, and Tulum. Visiting cenotes could be an option for excursions for students. Cenotes are basically underground sinkholes and rivers, and they are a really neat spot to take a swim. On Thursday, March 16th, we would visit Roatan, Honduras. Roatan is an island about 20 miles off of the mainland of Honduras. Roatan is another great place to participate in some kind of water activity. Off of the coast of Honduras is the second biggest barrier reef in the entire world. It's a great place to snorkel. It'd be a great place to do some kind of a boat ride. Also a great place to visit the beach. Along with water activities, there are some great wildlife experiences, whether it's holding a sloth, visiting monkeys, seeing parrots. It is a great place to do a zip lining experience as well. That is the excursion that my wife and I did when we were there last summer, and here's a little video of her zip lining. March 17th, we'd visit Costa Maya, Mexico. Costa Maya, Mexico is located about a 4-hour drive from Cancun if you were to take that route. Right at port at Costa Maya, there's a really nice pool. It's a great place to do some kind of a dolphin experience, a great place to shop. About an hour from Costa Maya is a little area called Bacalar, and it is a lagoon. It has 7 different colors and different cenotes within the lagoon. It's a really, really cool area to visit. Costa Maya is definitely known for absolutely stunning beaches. Within 20 minutes of the cruise ship pier are some very nice beaches to visit. Close to Costa Maya, there are some ruins that could be visited. Also a great place to do something out in the water. Saturday, March 18th would be a day at sea. Another opportunity to explore the ship and go to more shows. Then on Sunday, March 19th, we would disembark the ship and fly back to Minneapolis and make our way to Menominee. Some highlights about this trip. All food is included on the ship. You can have pizza anytime you want. There are nice dinners at night, and there are buffets. So whenever you are hungry, food is available for you. All entertainment on the ship is included as well, including all the shows, the pools, and whatnot. Excursions. There will be an additional cost for excursions, though at every port there are things to do for free or very little expense. Performance opportunities. There'll be 2 to 3 different performance opportunities available for this trip. We would perform and have a clinic on the stage of the cruise ship. We would also have an opportunity to perform in Miami. I'm also hoping for some kind of opportunity to perform at one of the ports. In Cozumel, there's an area that I found that I'd really like to perform at. I'm now going to talk about supervision and safety on the ship. Students will have some freedom while aboard the cruise ship. When students are off of the cruise ship, for most of the time they will be under the strict supervision of chaperones. The only time they will not be under the strict supervision of chaperones will be at the private island of Coco Cay, in which there are lifeguards and Royal Caribbean staff everywhere. Now specifically talking about Coco Cay. Coco Cay is a very, very safe port. As I mentioned, it is owned and operated by Royal Caribbean as a private location. It is a paradise beach destination with activities all over the place. There are lifeguards everywhere. Very, very safe location. Cozumel. Cozumel is a very safe port. In fact, I have taken my kids and wife to Cozumel, and we plan to go there again this summer. My kids are ages 4 and 9. While at port, students will be under the supervision of chaperones at all times. The groups will be able to explore the locations around the port, and there will also be the opportunity for pre-booked excursions. Roatan, Honduras. Roatan is a safe port, but the area around where the ship docks is not considered a tourist hotspot. So groups under the supervision of chaperones will not be allowed to leave the port area. At Roatan, students will only be able to participate in pre-booked excursions, or under the direct supervision of chaperones, they will be able to take verified transport to various beach destinations on the island. And lastly, Costa Maya. Costa Maya is a very safe port. As I mentioned before, it was originally established as a fishing village before the cruise industry discovered it. While at port, students will be under the direct supervision of chaperones. They will have the opportunity to pre-book excursions. They will also be able to walk, again under the supervision of chaperones, to nearby beaches. This is a very safe location. I spent 4 days with my family in Costa Maya or Mahahual last summer, and we plan to spend another 4 days this summer. I'm now going to highlight what the CDC is doing in regards to cruising. The CDC has implemented the optional CDC COVID-19 program for cruise ships, which is a color coding system that the agency uses to closely monitor COVID cases on the cruise ships. Royal Caribbean is participating in this program. Most cruise ships right now are at either yellow or orange status. Now, it's important to recognize what this means. If they are under a yellow status, it means that under 3 people out of 1,000 on the ship have tested positive for COVID-19. If they reach orange status, it means over 3 people out of 1,000 have tested positive. Once the ship reaches orange status, the CDC monitors the ships a bit more and starts to do a little bit more of an investigation. They are very, very closely monitoring the cruise ship situation. I think they're doing a great job with it, and I think Royal Caribbean is doing an excellent job as well. Here are the specific Royal Caribbean protocols that they have set forth in order to sail. Now, this is current as of April 27th, and I do expect that this could change. First of all, you must provide a negative test within 2 days of sailing. This would likely be 1 day before we depart Menominee. All guests 5 years and older need to be vaccinated beforehand. And also 100% of the crew is vaccinated on the ship, and the crew are tested regularly. Now for the what if scenarios. What if a student tests positive right before the trip? In regards to the flight, the refund status would be based on the airline's policy at the time of booking. Most airlines currently offer vouchers if the flight is canceled. For the cruise, now this is something really great about the cruise. If you test positive before embarking, Royal Caribbean refunds the entire cruise fare. It is important to keep in mind that this is the cruise fare, not the entire trip. Royal Caribbean refunds the entire cruise fare if the student tests positive right before the trip. In regards to other expenses on the trip, like airport transfers, hotel, and other expenses, those are most likely non refundable. Keep in mind, those are minimal expenses. What if a student tests positive during the trip? If the student is on the ship and tests positive, Royal Caribbean takes care of them by providing an isolation room and or transport home. They even say that they will use a private jet and limo if necessary. In regards to the flight, the refund status would be based on the airline's policy at the time of booking. Again, most offer vouchers if the flight is canceled. Also, airport transfers, hotel, and other expenses likely would be non refundable, and those are minimal expenses. Medical care aboard the ship. I do want to highlight that you can find more details about medical care in the packet or the attachment. A full medical team, including nurses and doctors, are aboard every Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Facilities include hospital-grade ventilators with CPAP and BiPAP capabilities and a dedicated controlled care center where infectious guests or crew can be cared for away from general medical areas. Each ship is also equipped with critical care beds. Guests who do test positive for COVID-19 will be moved to isolation staterooms that are closer to the medical center and will enjoy complimentary amenities like Wi-Fi, room service, along with regular visits or teleconsultations with medical staff to monitor their wellness. Here is a snapshot of Royal Caribbean's healthy sailing. I do want to point out that under vaccinated guests, I have heard that it is 5 and up who need to be fully vaccinated and not 12 and up. This visual is also provided in the handout or the attachment, and I encourage you to check it out. All students would be required to have a passport in order to go on this trip, as well as a verified government-issued birth certificate. The birth certificate acts as a backup in case, for some reason, that the passport was lost. General information about this trip. It would be a 7-night cruise plus 1 night in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. The total length of the trip would be 8 nights. We would likely take air transportation to get there, and the cost would be $1,600 to $1,700 a person, though expect that the band boosters as well as some MHS fundraising account money can help lower this price. Positive items to consider about this trip. A lot of great, unique, and fun experiences. I think the performance opportunities are great. I believe this is a great bang for your buck, especially in comparison to other trips. I do like the supervision model in regards to taking care of and watching over students. Because of Royal Caribbean's policies, I do believe the financial risk is much lower in comparison to other trips. I'm also very comfortable with the COVID medical needs that are provided by Royal Caribbean. Concerns about this trip. Could a spike in COVID derail this trip? The cruise industry's protocols are also subject to change, which could affect things a little bit. And this trip requires a bit more preparation both for students and for me ahead of time. I'm going to briefly highlight travel insurance. Purchasing travel insurance can minimize the financial risk and reimburse you for some COVID expenses, as well as other events which could derail the trip. Travel insurance could provide medical coverage and assistance if needed. Our group's plan for travel insurance is to be determined, and it may be the choice for families to make on their own. Where do we go from here? There's an online questionnaire that I'm asking parents to fill out. A link to the questionnaire is on one of the documents that is attached or on one of the documents that you brought home. I'll also include one in an email. I'm asking all parents to do this by Wednesday, May 4th. After the online questionnaire has been filled out, Mr. Karkula and the administration will discuss the results of the questionnaire, and then a preliminary decision in regards to the trip will be made. It is my hope that we make the decision about what trip we're going on by the end of this school year, and then it is also my hope that we expect commitment and payment in September. It might be necessary to get a down payment before the end of the school year in order to secure airfare, but that is something that I will be discussing with the travel agent, and I need to look into that a little bit more. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.